In the midst of the pandemic, a woman tells her three grown daughters a story of her youth, about a love affair, a path that she might have taken, but didn't. They, in turn, tell her of their hopes for fears for the future. Tom Lake is the latest novel by renowned writer Ann Patchett, who also owns an independent bookstore in Nashville, Tennessee. Jeffrey Brown joined her in New Hampshire recently for our arts and culture series, Canvas.
Cool. Wow.
Ann Patchett's novel Tom Lake begins in a high school in a small New Hampshire town when a young girl named Laura makes a sudden, life-changing decision to audition for a role in a play.
She is not there to try out for the role of Emily. She's there to register the people who have come to try out for the play. And they're so bad that she decides after 4 hours of listening to auditions that she's just going to get up and read the lines in a straightforward way because she loves the play.
Yes, we all know in our bones that there is something eternal about every human being.
The play is Thornton Wilder's 1938 classic, Our Town, seen here in a 2003 production starring Paul Newman. It's a deceptively simple portrait of the everyday, what we see and what we miss, and the quick passing of a life.
Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners.
And it's a play that Patchett, like her fictional character, has always loved.
It's about paying attention to all of the small moments of your life, realizing that your life really is just the compilation of small moments, and either you are awake to them and pay attention to them, or you're always looking ahead and you miss your life.
So that becomes, of course, the theme, or one of the themes, of Tom Lake.
Yes, yes. Tom Lake definitely started with Our Town. Somebody said to me recently, so how did you decide which play Laura is going to be in high school? And I was like, oh, no. I started with Our Town and then figured out who the characters were.
Wilder based his fictional town of Grover's Corners on the real-life New Hampshire town of Peterborough, where he also produced it with the Peterborough Players, a professional summer stock theater. He'd conceived and written part of it in a small cabin at MacDowell, the famed artist residency program in Peterborough. And that's where we met Patchett, who'd herself once had a residency here, to talk about a novel in which Laura, now an adult, tells her three grown daughters the story of her long-ago summer romance with a young man who would become a world-famous actor.
She's not going to tell her daughters the whole story, but nobody ever tells anybody the whole story. I mean, we all edit our stories based on our audience. I'm going to tell a story to my husband one way, to my best friend one way, to you one way. It's not that you're lying, it's just that you shape your story to fit your audience.
But I mean, that suggests we all have many stories.
Of course, everyone. What are we except a bunch of stories, a compilation of the stories that we've lived and that we've told ourselves and other people over the course of our lives.
Now 59, Patchett has been telling stories for a long time, with 9 novels, 15 books in all. One of our best-selling and best-loved writers. But there's always something new to learn.
It was actually really a joy to write this book. And you want to know why?
Yeah.
I wrote the entire book on a treadmill.
What do you mean? Like literally while you were?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I got a treadmill desk.
Yeah.
I wrote the whole book on a treadmill desk. So I walked the whole book. And for whatever reason, it just thrilled me. I would get up in the morning and think, I'm ready to go to work. I'm going to go get on the treadmill desk. I'm going to go write my book. And I've never felt that way before. It was a joy.
There is much joy in this novel, set mostly on a cherry farm in Michigan, where Laura has made her life far from any one-time dream of the glamour of Hollywood, and is herself coming to see what a life is made of, as in this passage.
There is no explaining this simple truth about life. You will forget much of it. The painful things you'd be certain you would never be able to let go of, now you're not entirely sure when they happened, while the thrilling parts, the heart-stopping joys, splintered and scattered and became something else. Memories are then replaced by different joys and larger sorrows, and unbelievably, those things get knocked aside as well.
But this is also set amid the pandemic, and Laura's daughters bring their own fears for their lives into the story.
One of the things that this book is about, but I am so struck by, is when I was in my 20s, I worried if I had enough money to go out to dinner. You know, we'll go to the matinee because we don't have enough money to go at night. We'll go to the restaurant, but we'll just get a piece of pie. I really want to get this story written. Maybe I'll send this story to a magazine. That's what I was worried about. At the bookstore, I own a bookstore in Nashville, Parnassus. We have all these employees, a lot of them in their 20s and 30s, and that's not what they're worried about. I mean, they're worried about the pandemic. They're worried about climate change. They're worried about gerrymandering. They're worried about the right to love who you love. I mean, it's the weight of the things that young people have to worry about today is so different from the things that I worried about when I was young.
Here you say it, the beauty and the suffering are equally true.
Right. That's exactly right. There's a lot to feel terrible about, but there is also so much joy, and there's so much to feel good about, and you can hold those two opposite things. We all do every single day. We hold those opposite truths.
That's true for the world of books as well. Patchett is a champion of writers and literature generally, but is also near the front lines of today's battles over book bans.
Things aren't great in Tennessee. The people who are banning books don't care about books. You don't ever ban something you care about. You want to keep kids safe, ban guns. You want to keep kids safe, maybe don't let them bring their phones into school. But nobody is going to keep a child safe by keeping a book from them. And yet by making the conversation about the book, then no one on either side has the energy to talk about the things that really matter. Schools really matter. Teachers, librarians really matter.
For all her characters' uncertainties and those of our times, Ann Patchett has always had her own clarity. And nothing brings it out like being back in high school. Did you know what you wanted to be when you were in high school?
Yeah.
You did?
I did. I wanted to be a writer.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a writer. I never wanted to be anything else in my life.
How did you have that certainty?
I have no idea. But if you were interviewing 6-year-old Ann Patchett on this stage right now and said, Ann, what do you want to do with your life? I would have said, Jeff, I want to be a writer.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown in our town, Peterborough, New Hampshire.